He says the same thing.
Does it matter where we sit? Is it just a general break?
It's the first one I could find.
Absolutely, I would love to do that right after I finish work, and then I'll come. Right here. Yeah, totally.
With people, let's go with that.
I'll join Chevron.
Y'all are enjoying each other too much. We're going to sing a couple of songs tonight to get started, and then Wilbur and Nick will lead us for the rest of the night. How deep the Father's love for us, how vast beyond all measure, that He should give His only Son to make a wretch His treasure. How great the pain of searing loss! The Father turns His face away, as wounds which mar the chosen one bring many sons to glory. Behold the man upon the cross, my sin upon His shoulders. Ashamed I hear my mocking voice call out among the scoffers. It was my sin that held Him there, until it was accomplished. His dying breath has brought me life. I know that it is finished. I will not boast in anything, no gifts, no power, no wisdom, but I will boast in Jesus Christ, His death and resurrection. What should I gain from His reward? I cannot give an answer, but this I know with all my heart: His wounds have made my ransom. Break my heart, dear Lord. Tear the beggar's down. Show me in the convicting tears the glory of your crown. My heart is hard, my soul so weak. The ways of evil cut so thick. I need you, Lord, to come inside and gently break my heart. My sin is great, but I can see the glory set for me. Show me, Father, where 'tis dark, and gently break my heart. My heart is hard,
Thank you guys for being here tonight. Are you excited?
So much excited.
Hold on. Let's rewind.
One more time.
Good evening. Are you guys excited? All right. Going to do things a little bit differently here in a minute. We'll explain why the tables are labeled, why they're labeled, and what you're going to be doing. Just get ready to be a little more active.
We have a plan.
We do have a plan. Be a little bit more active. But before we begin tonight, we thought we'd play a game. Nick and I teach the teens and students all the time, and so we like to kind of do things a little differently. So we're going to play a game. If you know the theme song, you'll be excited, I think. You ready? Yeah. By the way, Bob Barker, 99 yesterday. 99 years old. Thank you. Okay. So on your tables, there should be a piece of paper that is blank. Don't use that one. Use the piece of paper that looks like an answer sheet. Each of you should get one.
There we go. 1970s.
Each of you should have one. Take a pen. It'll be labeled at the
Now
top.
got a pen. Make sure those pens work. We know pens can be tricky sometimes. Should say 1970s, 2020s.
So we are going. All right, we're going to count the cost. We're going to put on screen an item, and then you're going to guess what that item cost in the 1970s, and then what it cost in the 2022s. Okay? So item number one. Item number one. What did this cost in the 1970s, and what does that cost now in the 2020s?
The exact same.
Just for inflation or not?
The price, please.
The base price.
We'll go with the base model.
Thanks, Mike.
Base model. Base model. All right.
Are they answering individually or as a table?
Individually. All right, here we go. If you guessed in 1970 that phone cost $3,995, you're correct. All right, now Nick, what did it cost in the 2020s? What? Would I mess up?
Oh, never mind. Yeah.
That's what it cost.
We're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the 2020s, Nick, what did it cost? What's it cost now?
Let's see here. $363.63. It's got a little cheaper actually.
That's if you're on the cricket plan, the cricket phone.
I got a little mixed up there on something that.
All right.
That first number is just very shocking when you first see it. But it's
Okay. The next item. What did a long distance phone call? A long distance phone call in 1970s cost what? And then today, 2020, what does it cost?
And in case you're wondering what this picture on the TV says,
It's whatever you think. What did it cost in 1970s versus what does it cost in the 2020s?
I mean, it was free on Sunday.
It's up to you. It's up to you. What did it cost in 1970?
this guy is also saying, I'm taking out a loan to pay my long distance bill. My life is ruined. Thanks. Phone thing. And this actually says phone thing.
And we'll go with South Central Bell's rate. South Central Bell, if you remember them. All right, here we go. In the 1970s, it was 70 cents per minute.
There you go. There you
70 cents per minute. Also, you would have to call the technician, and they would come to your house and install the phone, and then you could start calling from there. Nick, in the 2020s, what did it
go.
cost?
Oh, man. $10 a month on a cell phone plan.
Because there's not really, as you guys all understand, there's not really a per minute. So it's really the best, that's the best way of looking at it in today's terms.
Yes. All right, here we go.
If you want to do the math, you're more than welcome to.
It's later.
Loaf of bread. In 1970s, what did a loaf of bread cost?
One loaf of bread, not a slice, not a bud, just full loaf of bread.
And what did it cost in the 2020s?
2020 to 2022?
You showed this on one of your pictures with Dennis Reed.
2 years ago?
All right, here we go. In 1970,
Let's
that
see it.
loaf of bread, 25 cents.
25 cents. I see some, sounds like we're some people who are
All right,
that's
Nick,
so much
in
more.
2020, what did this throw
We're
us?
going up a little bit to $2.99. $2.99.
That's for the name brand. Name
Loaf of bread.
Great values, $1.28. $1.28.
Love it.
All right. In 1970, 1970 dishwasher
From the catalog.
or the 2020 dishwasher? Now we know the old ones last longer than the new ones.
Yes,
We
we
got
do.
that.
I
So
had one of those 3 years ago.
can't take that into account in the equation. And this is with the wood grain countertop as well, so you just cut a hole right there in your kitchen and slide it
Right,
in.
what brand is the silver one?
I believe it's a Kenmore. Kenmore.
No, come on.
Kenmore.
Yeah.
Your stereotypical.
Or is it no,
New
Maytag?
dishwasher.
Maytag. The repairman's inside. Thank you. All right. In 1970, the dishwasher cost.
It was
That's pretty
expensive.
penny right there.
It was expensive.
In the 2020s,
I said 700.
$560.
There we go.
By the way, these are on sale at Lowe's right now for $5.59. So, all right, a car.
Good old car.
Not necessarily these cars, but a car. In 1970, what did a car cost? In 2020, average.
Average price. So we're not doing lowest or highest, just the average. So try and find that sweet middle spot.
New car?
Yes.
Average price of a new car. In that
Average
era,
price of a new car.
That time frame.
I put down what Alexis was.
In game show hopefully, a new car. Ready? 1970 is your average car price. $3,542.90. The new car price. $32,930.58. That's the average cost in Tennessee, by the way. We looked it up per state. All right, now this one, if you get this is going to be incredible on this one. What did a concert ticket cost to see the Beatles in 1970? And what's a Tay-Tay concert cost?
We're going to specifically do the 2023 Eras Tour that made the news famously about Ticketmaster blowing up.
And Tay-Tay is Taylor Swift, for those of you who do not know. Taylor
Whatever
Swift.
you think this price is, go higher. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
You talking like just from Ticketmaster?
correct. So you know if it's Ticketmaster, it's about $800 worth of fees right there.
It's an additional ticket and fees, is what you're paying.
Yeah. All right, here we go. By the way, somebody in here needs to bring back this stash. Like Jeff last year needs to bring back that mustache right there. It'd be amazing. Yeah. All right. 1970s, $3.50 to $6.60.
True. It is in fact true.
That's not that bad.
Now this next one,
And this will surprise you. But let's see here, Wilbur.
this is the average price. We have
Average price of 2023 Eras Tour of Taylor Swift. $10,000. There are probably resale tickets because on May, I think it's the first weekend of May of next year, you can see Taylor Swift at Nissan Stadium for $10,000 if you really want. Take out a mortgage.
All right.
Depends on
All right, so tonight we're talking about counting the cost, right? We're talking about these things that we do that cost something. We just went through a whole list of things that cost something at different times in different eras, but they still cost something. You had to sacrifice something in order for that. So we're going to dive into reading the scripture of Luke 14, 25 through 33. Then we're going to talk about a couple things, and then we're going to turn it over to y'all, and you're going to teach each other in different ways tonight. So that's the plan. So if you guys would read along with, I'll do the first one, you do the second. Let's do this. This is Luke 14, 25 through 33. If you want to follow along, it's on the screen. Large crowds were traveling with Jesus, and turning to them, he said, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. And whoever does not carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple."
Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, "This person began to build and wasn't able to finish."
Or suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Won't he first sit down and consider whether he is able with 10,000 men to oppose the one coming against him with 20,000? If he is not able, he will send a delegation while the other is still a long way off, and will ask for terms of peace. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples.
So we think about counting the cost. We'll keep thinking here. So something in my life that's really been about counting the cost is this photo, getting married. So we've been Melissa and I got engaged in May. And so the awkward conversation came up with Melissa, okay, are your parents going to help pay for the wedding? And so for me, it's like, these are my future in-laws we're talking about here. So as you can understand, conversation with future in-laws is a very delicate thing you have to be very careful with before the marriage, for sure, to start off on a good foot. But thankfully, most parents were very generous in helping. But if anyone knows, what's the most expensive part of a wedding usually? Venue, exactly. I'll never forget, we were driving down this summer to the Renaissance Festival. Has anyone ever been to the Renaissance Festival? No. Castle right down off so we were driving down that way down Monesville Road. We stopped, we saw a place called, do you remember the name of it? Mint Springs. Does anyone know the starting price for a wedding at Mint Springs Farm? It is $50,000 for just a base package at that venue. And maybe just pass it on.
That's 5 Taylor Swift tickets right there.
Exactly. The whole family can go to Taylor Swift for that cost. But all in all to say, we really had to last month really count the cost of what that meant. Because, at the end of the day, as a lot of you probably know, through our marriages or marriage has been apart, it's really important to recognize and consider the things you're going to really remember the most about the wedding day. Because there's a lot of things you can get caught up in. And perhaps there's been big expenditures in your life that you've really had to invest a lot of money into, where you had to prepare in advance and know what the costs were going to be. Whether that was going abroad for a trip or Christmas. I know that can be something you definitely have to plan for this time of year. But all in all, it's so important to prepare so far in advance to pay for the things that matter most, to where you can fully remember the important things afterwards.
But sometimes things happen in life that you didn't plan for, like, say, children. So according to the USDA, that's how much it costs to raise a kid in 2015. 2015, it was $233,610. 18% of that was your food, 29% housing, 15% transportation, 9% healthcare, 6% clothing, childcare and education, 16%, and miscellaneous 7%. I'd love to list that out. That would be awesome to hear that.
Not including
This is what it costs to raise kids. Now, if you knew that before you had kids, how many of you would decide to have a kid still? No. All right. In due time. Okay. Yeah. If you knew that, you wouldn't do it, but still, a lot of us have had kids. And so we understand that the cost of having kids is unpredictable and it's changing. So it's hard to count costs sometimes, but you still have to deal with it. Like you can't, with Mark looked at Olivia, what's your wife's name again? Carolina, and said, hey, Olivia's going to cost a lot of money. Let's choose between Joaquin or Olivia, which one we keep. I don't think that conversation would go too well, right? Just saying, would not, yeah. So there's sometimes costs happen. You can't necessarily prepare for them or count for them, but you still have to deal with them and take them into pay. And then also after children, I feel like as soon as children are born, then all of us adults start looking towards this one word that we all want to do, retire. Right? Like, as soon as the kids come, it's like, oh man, my retirement, what that's going to look like. And so you have to also plan for the future as well, and those things, and count the costs and those things. So as we continue on talking, Nick, talk about church and what that looks like as far as counting the costs.
We think about the early church. You think about what the early church endured. To be named a Christian in the time of the Roman Empire, there was cost involved. There wasn't a membership fee, there wasn't anything, but there were a lot of other costs to being with it. Simply being associated with the early church came with it a lot of baggage. A lot of baggage of what might come in that role as being a Christian. Possibly being martyred. Possibly being labeled an atheist. Because in that time, Christians were called atheists for not believing in the Roman gods. For a lot of those Christians, they understood the cost of what it meant beforehand. Because they knew of people who had given up their lives, given up everything for the cost of following the cross. Because that's the example Jesus set and was followed by the apostles and followed by the leaders of the church, the early fathers, all throughout church history. And we come to the cost of church today. And it's different. We recognize the fact that the early church was in a different part of the world, a different society at that time. There aren't gladiator arenas where Christians are to fight each other or mauled by animals. That's not the world we live in anymore, at least in the U.S. or different parts. But the cost of being a Christian today is different than what it was for the early church. Yet, what does it cost for us? Because we think about the investment, whether in a wedding or a child, and how much meaning that brings about. Because you think about preparing for your retirement, how much meaning there is because there's so much invested. The cost of being a Christian is so great because we're called to invest so much into it. The reality is we're called to invest all of who we are into being a Christian, just as the early church did. Yet the easy thing about today is it can be easy to only give parts of ourselves to Christianity, to only give only certain days of the week or certain times of the day. But it's a hard conversation we have to have with ourselves to consider. How do we, in fact, give our whole beings as part of this cost of following Christ? Because we're all about following Scripture, saying what Scripture says and following it to the T. But when it says, pick up your cross and follow me, what does that look like for us? There's not a cross we pick up and carry to work every day. But perhaps metaphorically, there are things that we have to carry in our lives for the sake of Jesus. And sharing the gospel with others and doing things and giving generously beyond what is expected of us. There's a great cost to Christianity that can oftentimes be forgotten because of the great blessings we have. And in the midst of that, it's not to do away with such blessings. Those are such a good thing to have. But we must also be reminded from here on out what the cost might be moving forward and how we might have to stand alone sometimes in our faith. That may not always be the popular thing. It's always important to recognize for the future, for the past, what the cost of being a Christian is.
All right, if you notice on your table, there's three names, or one name, there's three names in the whole room. I'm sorry about that. There's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Does anybody know what the names underneath those are?
Hebrew names.
That's their Hebrew names. All right, good, awesome. All right, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, their story, they counted the cost, right? When the king put down the order, you can't worship me, you can't do those things, it took incredible discipline for them. And it wasn't really feelings either. They knew what their worship was about. What do you say, PR? To courage as well. To step up and to worship still in the sense of knowing the circumstances. And then also while they're standing in the fire, still say, we're going to worship God. They counted those costs, and they knew what the risks were. And they did it anyways. They took the courage, they took the discipline, the commitment, the submission to God, the whole focus on that's what they wanted to do. It was more important than their own life was the worship of God. Nick, talk a little bit about our students and what that is for their small groups. This point is.
Yeah. So the reality is what we consider with our small groups. We up until we started LYFT and even after in semesters before, we've had small groups. It's something that impacted my life a lot when I was in middle school and high school. But, we oftentimes tell our students with our small groups and our small group leaders who come in, we have a few in the room, our students get out of it what they put into it. In terms of showing up, having conversations with our small group leaders and with each other, and simply actually learning and retaining not only whether it be relearning information from Sunday morning class, but also having important conversations just about life. And the realities that they face each and every day, not only as the students, but for their small group leaders, and the experiences they share with our students. Because with church, and especially with our small groups, the more they invest, the more they get out of it. And that's the reality it is for a lot of things in our life. The more you invest in retirement, the more you'll get out of it in the future. In the same way, that's kind of a model we have for our small group ministry and just our student ministry in general. So let's transition.
So tonight, you're going to do stations, what we call stations here in the TYM. Now, we're not going to make you walk down to the amphitheater. If you don't know, we have an amphitheater at Tuscaloosa back there and back. It's awesome back there if you've ever been. We're not going to make you walk to the pavilion. We actually worked it out where you just stay in the room. So here's what you're going to do. At your current table, there are things that are taped to the table in 4 ways around there. If you'll each grab a blank piece of paper and a pen, there should be some blank paper on there. Now those tables, if you're an Abednego, you're doing the same thing as the other Abednego tables. If you're Meshach, you're doing the same thing as the other Meshach tables. And if you're Shadrach, you're doing the same thing as the Shadrach tables, right? So here in a minute, we're going to give you a chance. Take a few seconds to read over what the tape thing says. Then do what it says. Some of the tables will be in full conversation the whole time. Some of you will be writing some things down, and then some of you will be doing a mixture of both in those things. We're going to give you time, but when we say time to move, you have 60 seconds to move, and we'll tell you where you're heading at that point in time. Okay? So right now, just focus on what's at your table. You'll have about 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Go.
Yeah, dog. Look at your life. How about your teeth? What do you think, Christmas? Christmas is the biggest thing for the year. Whose money are you spending here today? Wild's money?
Really relax.
So do I. Stop working out for me, so I can work out for you.
You have about 3.5 minutes.
Thank myself.
3.5 minutes.
All the hard work I put in.
So we got a minute. So, what do you think?
Nobody believes in me.
Yeah. Cool. For you.
That is your job.
Yeah, he's retired. He's worked a lot of that. That's an interesting question. It is.
Well, are you wanting black coffee?
1 minute. 1 minute.
We have 4 guys, all pretty much our own. I think they'll and we all it's awesome.
Maybe you can mention like a take like
60 or some seconds, like sort of questions.
Boy,
Don't feel like you have to.
It's just a random way to do a table. It's just a random way to do groups. Maybe later. All right. A couple things. Certain stations take a few seconds to read the questions first and answer them. That will help speed up the conversation part as well. And then be brief in your answers. That will speed it up. Okay, so here we go. Nick is going to tell you where you're moving to. So pay attention. And also, you do not have to sit with the same people at the same table when you move. So the key is to have full tables. So if you need to pull, if there's one person left out, slide them in for a family. But you don't have to sit with the same group. You can change up the group as you change up your tables. Does that make sense? It's going to be an experiment. Here we go.
Are we pen and paper? What are they? What's the?
You take your pen and paper with you. You need to keep your pen and paper with you. That's important.
All right, real easy here. So we have 4 Shadrach tables. They're going to move to this side to the 4 Abednego tables. Abednego tables, you're going to the back. 4 Meshach tables, and the Meshach tables are coming up to Shadrach. You guys can start moving.
Moving.
Please do not start yet. We will let everyone get settled. That way we're all starting at the same time.
Do what? Oh, he's sleeping in the truck.
oh,
Meshach to Shadrach.
Make sure you take your pen and
Abednego.
paper.
And Abednego to Meshach.
Sure, here, yeah. Grab a table, get settled with some people. We'll get ready to start in just a second here.
Awesome. You guys are doing awesome.
Alright, so we have about 15 seconds. Alright, it looks like this side is a little settled, this side. The back's got a little bit of work to do. Let's get settled. About to start here.
All right.
Alright, so again, just take some time with the questions before you start. That way, give yourself some time to think and reflect.
You have 6 minutes. 6 minutes.
You answer your questions and then you talk. I was just saying, it'll reach you.
3 minutes. 3
National School of Career.
Those are those the ones that you're taking out?
One minute. 1 minute.
Dad, we can make it up.
All right, it's time to move again. So if you're at the Shadrach table, head to the Abednego. If you're at the Abednego, head to Meshach. And if you're at the Meshach, head to Shadrach. And if I say that faster, I would get in trouble. So Shadrach to Abednego, Abednego to Meshach, and Meshach to Shadrach.
This is fun. I get to go to class. I don't have to be teaching. Your Fitbit, you know, we're trying to help you with steps. Coming or going? Okay. We care for you physically and spiritually.
Remember, as you settle in, kind of read what's at the station, and then this station you'll have 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Now we gotta.
5 minutes beginning now.
Your wife's not in my dinner. Well, that's why we said our wives for our the brain is in there. Thinking about it.
2 minutes. You have 2 minutes.
That's all right. Still control me off. That was the one about this. The cost of this.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. It goes by faster than
Ten seconds. All right. We do have a fourth station tonight. We are about to all go in the cafe and squeeze in there and fix each other. I'm just kidding. We're not doing that. You're okay? This is a good way, and we like to do this in the TYM because it's good that you get some peer-to-peer share and some peer-to-peer teaching going on and learning about different people. So what we want to do is we want to let you guys teach us. And so with the Shadrach station, which we call the conversation station, where we ask some questions and talk, this is open to the entire group, not just the ones sitting at the actual Shadrach. What was your favorite, question or comment that you heard from the Shadrach station? Don't make it awkwardly quiet for a long period of time. Go.
And we're going to make it awkwardly quiet for a long period of time.
Yes, go, Darby.
What's the most expensive thing in your life?
And your answer is?
Coffee.
What was it?
Christmas, my bad.
Christmas?
Yes.
You've been married for a long time.
What?
All three answers to Shadrach is marriage.
What was that, Mike? I'm sorry.
Our kids in question number 3, it's that 233,000, but wow, what that does when the doctor says, here's Sam, here's Aaron, and our children, how much do we do anything for that? We didn't realize that until it happened.
Right. He was talking about his kids, that he was willing to do anything for those kids, even though the sticker price is $200,000 and something at the end of it. But you're willing to do anything for them when the doctor hands it to you. And that requires a ton of time.
But I would say it's priceless, what a parent, the cost and those things. So it goes beyond money more often than not.
Until they become teenagers. I'm just kidding. Anything else? Anything else?
Yep, so let's go to the Abednego station. So, would you be curious of any particular things that stood out to you, any challenging questions, or just particular reflections you had on those questions?
This will be the station about the different generations you want to invest more in.
We all said for our present generation, it would be our spouses. Personally, and then for me, for whatever younger generation was my children.
So younger than him would be his children, and his current generation would be his spouse.
Derek and I were both kind of had the same answers that when we're looking to the older generation, we're at that point where we're beginning to look after our parents. And so beginning to help them make decisions for their future as well.
Yeah.
Talking about making decisions for his parents. It's good. Anything else?
Well, if you're old people, we do grandchildren.
Right. Yeah, so then.
You treat your grandchildren differently than your children?
I love the general feel of that.
They got them rolling.
All right. Anything else? Anything else about Abednego? All right. The Meshach station. The Meshach was more about sharing wisdom and Bible verses about discipleship. Now, what does being a disciple mean to you? So, any thoughts in that station?
I said the cost of discipleship is like time and you talk to God and your comfort level. Sometimes you have to feel outside of it. Sometimes we do have people so God can be awkward.
Yeah. He said that talk about this being a disciple takes up the cost of time, takes up a lot of time, and then he talked about getting out of his comfort zone, where you have to talk to people who may not be in your comfort zone and getting out of it. Attaboy, Andrew. Andrew Byron, right there, son of Brett Byron. Brett, stand up.
The thought process of dying to self. I think that's a hard one to do. When my needs and desires and everything become secondary to being God's child and a disciple of Jesus Christ.
Talks about dying to himself and letting God be the priority, the first, and letting his needs be the second. And that kind of blends together, God taking care of your needs. And it's great.
It's important to pick up our cross. What might we need to lay down at the cross?
Anything else?
You said something about being a disciple and a mentor.
Yeah.
Being a disciple and a mentor, you have to think about followers, people following you. They look up to you. So when you're a disciple, you have people looking at you, watching you. As you're being a mentor.
Yeah. Being a follower is also, being a mentor is you get a following, right? And you have to kind of be the example, the mentor, and the leader, and kind of the go-to person for those who are following you. That's cool.
And something we tell our students, even our 6th graders, is that there are younger kids looking up to them. You know, so this never ending back and forth of people looking up to you, but you also looking up to someone older than yourself. So that's it. So just kind of a final question to consider. I think it's kind of not really a question to answer. We're about running out of time here, but a question to leave all of us with is, what do you believe is the cost of discipleship? Because we all know the cost of coming to church. You have to get up each morning at a certain time. You have to have the right clothes, the right things, the food to bring to potlucks, this and that. But ultimately for faith, what might it cost in today's culture? Because the America of today is different than what it was 20 years ago. We have what we call the rise of the nuns, of people my age and in this generation are more or less not simply becoming atheistic, but just simply disavowing religion as a whole. And what do we do with that? How does that affect our own discipleship? How might we have to really think about the cost we invest in these churches and how they impact the people? Whether people at the schools right here or people in our neighborhood.
What are we willing to sacrifice so other people know Jesus? We have to think about that every day as we're disciples of Jesus following him. Is what are we willing to sacrifice for that? Okay, that concludes our class period tonight. Now we have some announcements. Where are my announcement people? We have Carter Tidwell. Oh, and Sophie Flanagan. Come on up. Come on up. Yeah.
All right. For church announcements, we have Christmas cards. Put them in the white box in the Great Hall. Last name first, then family names. Put them in alphabetical order with the rubber band around them. We're delivering the shut-in cards on December 18th. And then December 16th, we're going to have breakfast with Santa. From 6 to 8 p.m. There will be crafts, hot cocoa bar, biscuits, pancakes, link sausage, bacon, and Santa. Okay. And there will be a sign-up genius emailed out today. And then if you're signed up to volunteer, please be there at 5:15. And then this Sunday, December 18th, we'll have the evening of caroling. We'll gather at Tusculum in the chapel at 4:30 to assign groups, and we'll head out by 5 p.m. to start caroling. Our goal is to have groups of at least 6 to 8 individuals with a plan for each group to visit 3 to 4 houses. After caroling, we're going to go to Wings to Go, and then, yeah.
For the 2 a.m., we are going caroling, so make sure you come. We're on New Year's, we're having a joint event with Antioch Church of Christ, and afterwards there will be a provided lunch. Lunch is provided by us, they're providing the drinks, and then afterwards we will have a devotional led by both Antioch and Tusculum people. And then we're going to play dodgeball in the sanctuary. So we will be done by 2 p.m. on January 1st.
That's right. You're going to win.
Yeah, we're going to win. And then on February 17th through 19th is Winterfest. And the theme is The Hour Is Come, our ending to the farewell discourse of Jesus in John 17. Sign-ups have begun, so check your email, group me, or talk to Wilbur or Nick. Now we're going to sing A Common Love.
Rob, you want to read this?
The common love for each other,
dismissed. Father God, you're awesome. We just praise you for allowing us to be here tonight. We thank you for the individual hearts that came, God. God, we hope that as we talked with each other and shared with each other and shared from your word, that was written on our hearts. And God, that we are so passionate about what Jesus did for us, that we become true disciples and followers of him and you, that we seek you every day, and that you are our guide, you are our strengthener, you are our encourager, and that we share the hope that we have in Jesus with other people as we become better disciples of Jesus and we begin to tell more people about why we are the disciples. Thank you for all that you've done for us, for dying on the cross. We thank you for your hope, peace, and joy. It's in your precious Holy Son's name together the Tuscone family says,
Amen.
Your fists.